5:41 local time. A thin band of dawn is just beginning to lift over the Strait of Hormuz when the first warning cuts through the routine. Bridge, CIC, new surface emissions north of track. Stand by. On the flight deck of USS Abraham Lincoln, yellow shirts are already moving around parked aircraft. Deck crews weave between tow tractors and chained down Super Hornets. At first, nothing looks urgent. Nothing sounds wrong. The carrier holds a steady course through the narrow passage, while its escorts keep disciplined spacing ahead and abeam. Every ship in the formation moving like part of one machine. Then the second call comes in, sharper than the first. Multiple fast movers just painted, bearing 038, low altitude, high speed. And just like that, everything changes. Inside the Combat Information Center, displays that were calm a moment ago begin filling with fresh tracks. Small symbols appear low over the water, coming off the Iranian side of the strait. They are not civilian, not commercial, not random. Their speed is wrong, their altitude is wrong, and their timing is far too precise. The tactical action officer leans toward the screen, eyes locked. Confirm track quality. Firming now. Electronic support, coastal radar active, multiple emitters. No one needs to raise their voice. Training takes over before emotion gets a chance. On the bridge, the captain steps closer to the forward windows as if the dark horizon might answer faster than the sensors. Set general quarters. Tighten the screen. Warn the air wing. I want combat spread now. The alarm rolls through steel passageways and ready rooms. General quarters. The sound hits the ship in waves. On the flight deck, sailors pause for half a beat, then shift into a completely different rhythm. Tie-down crews re-secure what was already secured. Elevator teams halt movement. Ordnance personnel clear exposed areas. Every casual action disappears. Every step becomes deliberate. Above the carrier, the Combat Air Patrol hears the call and turns immediately. Lincoln, Raider 1-1, we copy GQ, pushing north sector now. Raider 1-1, be advised. Possible inbound anti-ship profile. Picture still developing. Ahead of Abraham Lincoln, one destroyer edges slightly east. Another widens to the west. Each ship adjusts just enough to reshape the defensive geometry around the carrier. To an outsider, it might look subtle. To the crews inside CIC, it is the formation drawing a blade. Track count now 6, one watchstander says. Possible more in clutter. Classify. Still low confidence. Could be cruise missiles. Could be one-way drones. Could be a mixed package. And that is the most dangerous answer of all. Different speeds, different altitudes, different guidance problems, all arriving in the same space at once. That is how defenses get saturated. That is how a strike group gets tested for real. On the carrier's island, lookout teams scan north through binoculars into the gray seam where sea meets land. Nothing yet. Just haze and distance. Then, CIC cuts in again. Tracks accelerating. Now 8 confirmed. Vector holds carrier axis. Carrier axis. Not the destroyer screen. Not merchant traffic. Not some random patch of water. The captain says nothing for a second. Then, in a voice low and flat, they're coming for Lincoln. At 5:44, the first radio warning goes out on open frequencies. Unidentified airborne contacts approaching U.S. naval formation in international waters. This is a United States Navy warship. Alter course immediately, or you may be engaged. No answer. The transmission is repeated. Same result. Nothing but static and the low hum of systems working harder by the second. Inside the escort destroyers, SBY radar locks deepen. Fire control solutions begin taking shape. Electronic warfare teams start cataloging emissions from the northern shore. Search radars, tracking radars, guidance support. There are now too many signatures for anyone to pretend this is posturing. The carrier subtly changes speed and rudder, just enough to complicate terminal guidance if anything makes it through. Flight deck crews feel the shift under their boots. They do not need anyone to explain what it means. Visual! A lookout shouts from high on the island. Low over the water, north sector. Heads turn. At first, it is only movement. Dark shapes skimming just above the surface, where dawn light still struggles to reach. Then the shapes sharpen into something unmistakable. Inbound weapons, fast and low, using the sea itself as cover. Inside CIC, the ranges collapse with brutal efficiency. 60 miles, 58, 55. The air controller pushes the cap farther forward, but this fight already belongs to the ships now. Too close, too fast, too low. This is exactly what the escorts were built for. Along Abraham Lincoln's Island and sponsons, sailors watch the northern horizon begin to flash. Not from impacts, not yet, but from the first vertical launch cells opening aboard the screen. The formation has made its choice. The tactical action officer checks the captain's authorization once, then returns to the glowing tracks. Confirmed hostile inbound, weapons free on designated threats. and in the narrow waters of Hormuz, the U.S. Navy opens fire. The first interceptors leave the escorts in hard white columns. At 5:45 local time, the sky north of USS Abraham Lincoln stops looking like dawn and starts looking like combat. One destroyer on the carrier's eastern screen fires first, standard missiles rising in rapid sequence. Less than 3 seconds later, a second ship on the western arc launches as well, building a crossing defensive wall over the strait. No one mistakes this for a warning. This is the first barrier. High splash expected in 12. Track 132 still hot. Inside the lead destroyer's combat information center, the tactical display has become a dense mesh of symbols, vectors, altitude tags, and shrinking range numbers. The incoming package is no longer hypothetical. 8 confirmed hostile tracks are skimming low over the water, and at least 2 more are hiding in surface clutter behind them. The initial assumption still fits some of them. Cruise missiles, but not all. One contact is slower and weaving. Another emits in short pulses, possibly feeding updates to the rest. A mixed package, exactly the kind of attack designed to force a defender into layers instead of lines. The first American interceptor reaches terminal phase. On Abraham Lincoln's flight deck, no one sees the missile itself. They see the result. A white flash low on the northern horizon, then a spray of orange fragments bursting outward above the sea. First splash, one down. No cheering, no wasted motion. CIC rolls instantly to the next problem. Track 132 still inbound, assigned second shooter. The next destroyer commits. Another interceptor climbs high, then dives toward the next incoming track. On radar, the geometry tightens fast. On the bridge, the captain watches the repeater feed in silence. Then another flash. Second splash. For a moment, it looks clean, controlled, textbook. Then the picture gets worse. New contacts bearing 029, lower speed, different axis. The controller says it once, and the whole room feels it. This was not a single wave attack. The first group was meant to force the screen open, trigger intercept decisions, and light up the defensive net. Now a second pattern is appearing behind it, offset on a slightly different bearing and moving at a different speed profile. Slower, lower, harder to sort. The kind of follow-on package built to exploit confusion. On Abraham Lincoln, the general quarters tone has long since faded, but the whole ship is still moving inside it. Flight deck tractors are locked in place. Ordnance teams shelter behind steel. Air crews in ready rooms pull on gear while listening to the engagement unfold over internal comms and through the dull concussion of launches outside. The combat air patrol swings north again. Raider 1-1, tally multiple heat blooms on shoreline. Possible launch support. Copy. Raider, hold outer screen. Do not overrun ship defense basket. The fighters want to push farther. The controllers do not let them, not yet. The airspace above the strait is filling with American interceptors, electronic noise, and unknown tracks. One mistake up there could put friendly aircraft inside the same defensive lanes the ships are using below. That leaves the surface combatants carrying the first real burden. On the eastern escort, the electronic warfare team begins transmitting countermeasures against probable missile seekers, sending jamming strobes across hostile frequencies. Deception packages go active. Some inbound tracks react immediately, wobbling or drifting offline. Others do not react at all. Those are worse. Track 136 unaffected. Track 141 still inbound. Fast. Recommend engage. Engage. Another pair of interceptors launches. With every shot, the destroyer's hull shudders. Topside sailors feel the percussion through boots and bulkheads. In the confined water of Hormuz, every launch sounds bigger, harder, closer. The third intercept happens high, the fourth comes late, and that fourth one is the one everyone remembers. It survives longer than it should. It slips under the first engagement envelope, partly masked by the sea, then reappears at a bad angle, crossing toward the center of the formation. Not toward the screen, but toward the carrier. Leaker, track 141, inside close basket. For the first time, the words hit Abraham Lincoln's Island with enough force to freeze even trained movement. Sailors on exposed positions turn north and finally see it. A dark, fast shape skimming just above the waterline. Too low, too fast, and now far too close. The nearest escort has no time left for another long-range shot. Its close-in weapon system spins to life. The sound is not cinematic, it is mechanical violence. A tearing metallic roar as the mount locks, tracks, and fires. Tracer lines rip across the dim air. The incoming threat jinks once, whether from programming or damage, nobody knows, and then disappears in a spray of sparks and debris less than 2 miles from the carrier's bow. A heartbeat later, fragments strike the water in a scattered line across the formation's path. No one on Lincoln moves for half a second. Then the ship breathes again. Leaker destroyed. Debris splash confirmed. Carrier remains clear. But the relief lasts only an instant. Back in CIC, no one is focused on the first wave anymore. They are staring at the second. More tracks are taking shape now. Slower, offset, smarter, and behind them, airborne sensors are beginning to detect something even more dangerous. Possible queuing support deeper inland. Maybe drones, maybe remote targeting relays, maybe something designed to keep feeding the attack after the missiles already in the air are gone. The tactical action officer studies the fresh picture and says what nobody wants to hear. This wasn't the strike. His finger taps the new symbols building behind the wreckage of the first wave. This was just the opening move. 5:52 local time. The first wave is still being dismantled over the water when the second one reveals what the attack was really built to do. Inside the strike group's combat information center, the new tracks do not look accidental. They look deliberate, slower than the first salvo, lower. Offset just enough to force the escorts to shift priorities. The tactical picture sharpens by the second, and with it comes the worst realization a carrier screen can have in confined water. The first wave was never meant to finish USS Abraham Lincoln. It was meant to open a lane. New contacts firming, count 5 confirmed, possibly 7, bearing 031 to 036. Profile mixed, 2 fast, 3 subsonic, 1 intermittent. The intermittent one gets immediate attention. It is not flying clean. It flickers on the scope, disappears into surface clutter, then reappears at a slightly different angle. Decoy, relay, or terminal seeker support. No one knows yet. What they do know is that it is complicating every fire control decision beneath it. On Abraham Lincoln's flight deck, the transformation is now complete. Every motion not directly tied to survival has stopped. Deck crews crouch behind tractors, tie down chains, and whatever steel gives them cover. Aircraft that were minutes from being repositioned sit frozen in place, wings folded, canopies shut, ladders kicked clear. The giant deck, normally all motion and noise, has become a waiting platform. Below it, the carrier begins a measured turn. Not dramatic, not panicked, just enough rudder to bend geometry, change aspect, and deny any incoming weapon a perfect final picture. The escorts move with it. One destroyer widens slightly to port. Another tightens on the carrier's forward quarter. The strike group is no longer just defending a formation, it is defending the center of gravity. Track 150 assessed carrier bound. No one asks how the controller knows. The angle says it, the speed says it, and most of all, the fact that it ignored a cleaner shot at the nearest screen ship says it. The Eastern destroyer commits first. Another interceptor erupts from its cells and climbs hard. Then a second follows. The launch sequence is faster now, tighter, less conservative. Magazine management still matters, but not more than the carrier does. Above the formation, Raider 1-1 and his wingman are pushed farther north. Raider, new tasking, hunt launch chain. Do not descend into ship basket. Repeat, do not descend. Copy, pushing. The fighters accelerate toward the Iranian side of the battle space, not hunting the missiles already inbound, but the system guiding them. Drones, relay aircraft, coastal emitters, anything keeping the strike coherent. If the first wave was the fist and the second is the blade, somewhere farther inland is the hand directing both. Back at sea, the timing is brutal. One inbound disappears in jamming and drifts harmlessly into dead water. Another is taken down clean at range, breaking into fragments far north of the formation. But the third does something worse than surviving. It drops for 4 seconds, maybe 5, sinking low enough to merge with the ugliest part of the radar picture, the zone where fast water, clutter, and metal all start trying to look the same. Lost track 150. Reacquire. Negative. Find it. The command comes out flat, but the pressure beneath it is iron. Then a lookout on Lincoln's Island shouts the words the console operators were trying not to hear. Contact! Low port bow! The missile is there again, knifing just above the waterline, angling across the front of the formation toward the carrier's turn. It is close now, too close for comfort, too late for any elegant solution. An escort ship off Lincoln's port side swings its close-in mount and opens fire. The CIWS does not sound heroic. It sounds like machinery tearing itself apart on purpose. A sheet of tracer fire slices low across the morning haze. For 1 second, the inbound holds course straight through it. For one more, it looks like it might actually survive. Then it comes apart. Not in a clean fireball, but in a burst of sparks, torn casing, and flaming fragments that skip into the water less than a mile from Abraham Lincoln's forward arc. The concussion reaches the carrier half a second later. Not an impact, but close enough that sailors along the island instinctively duck. Inside the ship, you feel it through the deck. Not a hit. Close enough that everyone aboard understands exactly what a hit would have meant. Track 150 destroyed. This time there is no relief, only breathing room, because almost immediately another inbound paints onto the display. Different track, different angle. This one comes in higher, then dives hard in terminal phase, trying to punch through from above the clutter instead of under it. Track 153 now primary. The Western destroyer engages. One interceptor launches, then another. The first misses wide when the target jinks late. The second catches it in the turn and tears it apart in a pale orange burst off Lincoln's starboard quarter. Debris rains into the water lane behind the carrier. Now even the most disciplined operators in CIC can see the pattern. These weapons are not probing at random. They are trying to split the defense by profile, high, low, fast, intermittent, forcing each layer to engage on different terms until something slips through. Damage control teams aboard Abraham Lincoln are already pre-staged, helmets on, gear ready, waiting in passageways for a hit that still has not come. That says more than any speech ever could. The crew does not believe itself untouchable. It believes in preparation. Then at 5:58, the airborne controller catches the break everyone has been waiting for. Multiple launch signatures fixed. Repeat, fixed. Probable coastal missile site and one offshore support element. Coordinates transmitting now. In the carrier's flag spaces and in the escort CICs, the meaning lands instantly. Up to this point, the strike group has been surviving. Now it has something better. A target. 5:59 local time. The mood inside the strike group shifts the moment the coordinates come through. Until now, every action has been defensive. Track, classify, engage, survive. Now the geometry flips. Aboard USS Abraham Lincoln, the strike group commander studies the feed from airborne sensors, escort radars, and electronic surveillance teams. The pattern is finally clear enough to act on. One coastal launch site, one probable mobile radar element deeper inland, and one offshore support node likely relaying real-time targeting data on the carrier's movement. That is enough. Authorize immediate counter-response on confirmed hostile emitters and launch-capable nodes. No pause, no debate. The order moves through the formation in clipped bursts. The fighters already airborne are retasked first. What had been combat air patrol becomes hunter-killer posture in less than a minute. The lead section receives target coordinates, checks deconfliction with the ships below, and turns hard toward the Iranian shoreline. Raider 1-1 copies strike tasking. Priority target is coastal emitter, linked to inbound profile. Confirm hostile chain before release. Copy. Confirming. Below them, the escorts do not relax. The screen stays tight. Radar search volumes remain broad. Electronic warfare teams continue scanning for one last delayed shot, one final weapon meant to catch the strike group at the exact moment its attention shifts landward. This is the dangerous moment in any engagement, the moment after survival, before certainty. Inside Lincoln's CIC, the air feels different now, still controlled, still technical, but the defensive compression is gone. In its place is tempo, offensive tempo, the kind that forces the other side to react for once. A cruiser on the edge of the formation receives final confirmation on the coastal radar site. Its weapons team builds a firing solution for a precision land attack response. Farther aft, another escort tracks the offshore support contact, a small, fast-moving surface element trying to drift back towards shallower water as the missile attack begins to unravel. They're turning away. Log it. Keep eyes on. Recommend hold surface fires unless hostile act repeats. The answer comes back immediately. Affirm. Stay disciplined. That is the American edge in this moment. Not rage, not impulse. Discipline under advantage. At 6:02, the first strike fighters cross their push line. From the cockpit, the northern shore looks pale and quiet in the early light. But the sensors tell a different story. Heat blooms, vehicle movement, radar spikes rising and falling in frantic pulses. Someone ashore is trying to tear down equipment, relocate launchers, or disappear into the terrain before the response arrives. Too late. Raider 1-1, target emitter confirmed. Valid hostile link to inbound chain. Cleared. The lead jet rolls in. Not steep, not theatrical, just enough angle to commit. Seconds later, precision-guided ordnance separates clean and tracks toward the confirmed radar node. The pilot barely watches. He is already climbing and offsetting for the next problem. Back at sea, the cruiser fires. A land attack missile tears out of the formation and races north low and fast, skimming over the water before angling inland toward the launch area that had fed the attack on Abraham Lincoln only minutes earlier. No dramatic buildup, no warning flare, just controlled force delivered by a ship still on full alert. On the carrier, sailors who moments ago were bracing for impact now hear power moving in the other direction. They cannot see the whole picture, but they know the sound. They know what it means when the side that tried to break them suddenly becomes the side being hunted. Over the target area, the first impact lands. Airborne sensors catch it as a sharp bloom, followed a fraction later by a heavier secondary burst. That second flash matters. It means stored fuel, munitions, or both. Something at that site was active. Now it is not. Good hit. Repeat, good hit. A second strike follows deeper inland against the mobile radar element attempting to displace. This one is harder. The unit is already moving, using terrain and road bends to break clean targeting. The wingman takes it. One pass, clean release. Seconds later, the road line erupts in dust, flame, and shattered metal. Inside Lincoln's CIC, both targets are marked degraded. Then the offshore support node makes its mistake. Whether it is a fast attack craft, a sensor boat, or a disguised relay vessel, it lights up just long enough. One brief emission, one last attempt to feed track data into a dying kill chain. An escort destroyer has been waiting for exactly that. Surface contact re-emitting. Confirm hostile support. Confirmed. Engage. The response is immediate and surgical. No waste, no excess. Just enough force to silence the contact and remove it from the battle without widening the surface fight in the confined waters of Hormuz. Minutes later, the radar picture where it had been goes empty. By 6:09, the strike group can feel the attack unraveling. Iranian coastal emissions begin dropping one by one. Search radars go dark. Guidance support fades. Surface contacts that had been edging forward now turn away or stop transmitting entirely. The threat still exists. The region is still dangerous. But the coordinated attack chain that nearly put a weapon into Abraham Lincoln has been broken in real time. On the bridge, no one celebrates. The captain studies the updated picture and gives the next order in the same calm voice he used when the first inbound track appeared. Maintain alert posture. Continue transit. That line says everything. The carrier was attacked. The strike group responded. And instead of stopping, it keeps moving forward through the strait. Behind them, fragments still float where the second wave came apart. Ahead of them, the water is open again. For the moment, 6:10 local time. The worst is over, but no one inside the USS Abraham Lincoln strike group moves like the fight is finished. Not yet. The carrier continues through the Strait of Hormuz at controlled speed. Escorts still spread in a defensive shell around her. Radar search volumes remain wide. Electronic warfare teams keep hunting for anything that looks like a delayed shot, a hidden boat, or one final radar cue from the shoreline. The attack chain has been broken, but this is Hormuz. Tight water, crowded lanes, too many places for one last threat to hide. Inside Lincoln's Combat Information Center, the tactical display is no longer saturated with inbound tracks. What remains are aftermath symbols, debris fields, retreating surface contacts, fading coastal emissions, and the steady blue geometry of American ships holding formation. Any new launches? Negative. Any reactivation from the northern sector? Intermittent search radar only, no fire control. That distinction matters. Search is nervous, fire control is lethal. Right now, the shoreline sounds nervous. On the carrier's flight deck, movement starts to return in pieces. Not normal, not routine, but movement. Yellow shirts step back into the open. Chained aircraft are checked again. Catapult crews inspect equipment with the kind of care that only comes after something almost happened. Sailors glance north more often than they admit, toward the haze above the Iranian coast, where faint smoke still lingers over at least one site that had targeted them less than half an hour earlier. The strike fighters return first. One by one, they check in, marked by fuel burn and salt haze, voices clipped and professional over the radio. Raider 1-1, mission complete. One radar site destroyed. Raider 1-2, mobile element struck. Secondary explosion observed. No one adds emotion to the report. They do not need to. The words are enough. On an escort destroyer running just off Lincoln's Quarter, the weapons team begins the part viewers never see in headlines. Counting interceptors expended, defensive layers used, engagement sequence, timing, which systems got first shot, which targets slipped deeper than expected. One officer studies the printout and says what no one in the formation is willing to dismiss. That was not a token attack. No one argues. One missile got close enough to be felt through the carrier's hull. Another forced a late terminal intercept. The first wave lit up the screen. The second wave went for the center. This was a real attempt, planned, layered, and timed for constrained water. And it failed. At 6:16, the offshore picture stabilizes further. The hostile support contact that briefly re-emitted is gone from the board. Other Iranian surface elements that had edged toward the battle space are now creating distance instead of closing it. Whether they were there to observe, relay, or exploit damage if Lincoln had been struck no longer matters. Their moment passed the instant the strike group survived the second wave and answered before the smoke had cleared. A helicopter finally launches from one of the escorts, not to press the fight now, but to verify. It sweeps over broken water, debris patches, and burn marks on the sea where close-in intercepts turned metal into fragments. The crew reports no floating survivors, no active skiffs, no new wakes racing in from hidden coves. Above them, a Hawkeye keeps orbit, broad and patient, watching the coastline like a lid held firmly over a boiling pot. the carrier's bridge remains quiet. And that quiet is part of the story. No speech, no triumph over the net. Just one calm check after another, each proving the same thing in the language of steel and procedure. Formation intact, air wing operational, no damage to carrier, continue transit. That last line carries real weight, because this was never only about surviving the missiles. It was about whether USS Abraham Lincoln could be stopped in one of the most dangerous maritime choke points on Earth. Whether a coordinated Iranian strike could turn the Strait of Hormuz into a trap and force an American carrier strike group to break posture, reverse course, or hesitate. It could not. By 6:22, full daylight has taken the water. The sky is bright now, almost indifferent. The violence of 20 minutes earlier feels unreal against the clean morning light. But the evidence remains everywhere for those who know where to look. Spent cells, logged tracks, scorched launch points ashore, crews still moving with that post-contact sharpness that lingers after combat. Abraham Lincoln keeps going. That is the final image. Not drifting, not burning, not stopped in the water, moving. The escorts hold close. Aircraft cycle overhead again. And the strike group resumes the one thing the attack was supposed to prevent: lawful transit under American control. Iran tried to bring down a U.S. aircraft carrier in Hormuz. For a few hard minutes, the danger inside the formation was real. The attack was layered, deliberate, and closer than anyone aboard Lincoln would ever dismiss. But close is not the same as successful. They opened with speed, they stacked the strike, they came near enough to remind everyone on that deck how narrow the margin can be. Then the U.S. Navy did exactly what it was built to do. It absorbed the first blow, it stopped the second, it found the source, and it answered immediately. By the time the Strait of Hormuz was fully awake, the message had already been written across the sea, in debris, in silence, and in a carrier still heading forward. They tried to stop USS Abraham Lincoln in Hormuz. All they really did was hand the United States a target.